And we are live.
Nice.
A live welcome from above and Batman Beyond. What's up, guys? What's up, Eli?
Hey, man.
Good to be live, baby.
Yeah, man.
All right, so again, live welcome from above and Batman Beyond. We are live on our YouTube channel. I am your co-host, Benjamin David.
And I'm Eli.
What is up, Neo Gotham? Very excited to be live today. Like I said, last time we went live, we'll be doing more live episodes. If you guys have any ideas for future streams, you as well, Eli, specifically YouTube streams, because we've gone live on Instagram. If you follow us, that's kind of a typical thing for us. But YouTube, we want to start doing that more. So please comment below or hit us up on social media. You guys know where to find us. But today we are here for a very intriguing twist on what we normally talk about, and that is Beyond live action.
Yes.
So this is the first installment of our live action live series, and it is specifically with the news. It's not just DC. You could say, oh, DC news makes sense for a DC show, but we're talking DC live action, specifically potential for Beyond, baby. I can't believe the day is possibly here where we might get a live action Beyond.
Though we've said that a lot.
Yeah, that's true. Let's not get our hopes up. So what we're talking about in a recent New York Times interview with DC Films president Walter Hamada, we got some confirmation of old news, but then some pretty exciting news about HBO Max. We asked you guys on our Instagram at Batman Beyond Media what you thought of all this potentially Beyond news. So we'll definitely get to that soon. Now, we've known since Matt Reeves' confirmation during DC Fandom that The Batman will be getting an HBO Max Gotham PD or Gotham Central spinoff. I don't think it has a title yet, but it's a spinoff series of that universe. Also, what is new is that Hamada said regarding additional DC characters such as Batgirl and Static, as well as WB's newest plan for theatrical release via HBO Max. Let me say that again. This specific news is about the additional DC characters that Hamada mentioned, saying, I think his words were the more risky characters. The characters that aren't your DC Trinity will have potential. And this is something I want to kind of correct. It's a minor correction, but it is something. I said on Instagram, potential series for HBO Max. What Hamada said, I actually reread the article today and I listened to some podcasts. He said for those regarding Batgirl and Static, he mentioned movies as a possibility.
Okay.
He didn't mention series, but I extrapolated series, and I do still think it is possible. That's why I don't think it's like a major correction, because we know we're getting a Batman series or Gotham series.
Right.
So I think that also there's still potential for, specifically for us, Beyond. I just wanted to make that correction about Batgirl and Static for the news junkies out there.
I think something with Static was confirmed, though.
Okay.
A while ago, though, I thought.
Yeah, there was the Michael B. Jordan's rumors and stuff like that, or maybe confirmation even.
And before that, Jaden Smith, they said.
Oh, Jaden Smith. Okay.
Yeah.
I heard about that too. Nice.
I don't really know what they're going to do with him,
but
I guess he's included in all of this discussion. So
yeah. Awesome. So of course, for our show, there are two main things. Sorry, I lost my place here. This is different for me. Yeah. So sorry. Of course, for our show, there are two main things we're going to hit regarding this news. First, what it means, as we said, for a potential Batman Beyond series on HBO Max, and two, directly related to Max, could a Beyond series be spun out of Hamada's newest comments regarding Keaton as old Bruce Wayne? Because again, we're also going to hit what he said about Keaton as old Bruce Wayne. This is kind of the most likely news out of all the things that we're talking about, is that there's probably going to be something Beyond-esque in the next Flash movie.
Right.
So yeah, we're going to talk, but I think, because the Batman's getting a spinoff series, who the hell knows? So again, in other words, we've already talked about the potential for a Beyond live action movie since the Michael Keaton news last summer. So let's focus more on today, once again, on the possibilities for HBO Max, but also brainstorm at least a little about Beyond on the big screen based on this newest info.
Yeah.
Finally, once again, we have our Q&A from you guys on Instagram. Please follow us at Batman Beyond Media. Join in on the Q&A. And before we jump into it, if you're new here at the channel, please consider subscribing. On YouTube, click that notification bell so you don't miss any of our new content, including going live. It alerts people when they go live. And for the podcast listeners, please subscribe to the pod, just like the YouTube channel. We are above and Batman Beyond. You can find the podcast on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud. Happy to be on Spotify. So as you could probably guess, this particular episode is available in both video and audio form. So you get to pick your poison for today's show, which is fun. Or both, yes. But again, please subscribe to both, since there's plenty of YouTube stuff you're obviously not going to find on the podcast and vice versa, kind of exclusive content.
Yeah.
All right, guys, so let's talk live action beyond. I guess we'll go to you, my co-host, one of my closest friends in the world here.
Mhm.
What do you think? Start off with that. Thoughts on Keaton as the main DCEU Batman? So I guess before I hand it over to you, what I mean by main DCEU Batman, this is what Walter Amada, again, DC Films president, the big most recent news, because once again, we knew about the Keaton confirmation from DC Fandom in August. So it's new news is that he identified Keaton as what is going to be the main DCEU Batman, which also going back to Fandom news, we know where Affleck's going to be in this, like we're getting a Batfleck in this, but he's no longer the main DCEU Batman. Thus far, he's been our DCEU Batman. Now it's apparently going to be Keaton, which is unexpected, and that's kind of the main thing, which also implies that multiple movies. That's why now I'm brainstorming about a possible series. What do you think about Keaton as the main DCEU Batman?
They haven't announced any type of contract he's had to sign beyond the Flash movie, have they?
I don't know if they've announced the contracts, but at the very least, I know that every single person is talking about, like, because he said this main DCEU thing, that almost has to mean. So guys, let us know on YouTube or Instagram, whatever. Do you know if contracts have been signed, stuff like that? But I do know that everyone's just kind of safely assuming that.
Right. Right off the bat, I'm a little bummed. I think that Affleck had the potential to be brilliant. I don't think he was terrible. I think he did the best with what he had to work with. So I'm going to be sad to see him kind of be phased out or killed or retired or whatever. I love Keaton.
Mm-hmm.
He's not my Batman per se, but I respect his contribution to the mythos as a whole. I think he has done a lot to put us in the modern Batman that we are living in, right? That being said, I don't know exactly how this is going to work. Because if they're preparing for a Batman Beyond type of, if they're trying to shift Batman in the DCEU into that direction, Batman Beyond obviously takes place after, the era of the main Justice League that we follow. He takes place several decades later.
Mm-hmm. Where the DCEU currently is way pre-Beyond.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know if that means we're trying to set up Beyond in current day DC, or if that means that they're going to use like de-aging effects to put him in the age of Superman, but then use standard Keaton in like Beyond era potentially. Like, I don't know what this means.
Say the first option again.
So like, does this mean that, let's say the next Justice League happens, does that mean that we're going to have some type of de-aging effect to make him be able to be Batman in that era?
To make Keaton be Batman.
Right. Like, how does this work?
Wow.
He's already at the retirement age in modern DC, in modern DC era. They're not even in the future yet. So I just don't know how this is supposed to work as a timeline thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
As it stands now, it's fine. I mean, it is what it is. Flash is the way you explain this. If you're going to have, switching of casts and stuff, it just seems a little shoehorny to me. It seems like
everyone... You mean like Flash is your way into the multiverse?
Right. Well, it just seems shoehorny in the sense that like everyone likes Keaton the most. Everyone has a fondness for Keaton, understandably so. So it's like, okay, yeah, let's just switch them out real quick. Now Keaton's our main Batman. You know what I mean? I hope that there's a narrative behind this that really fits, and I hope that we give Ben Affleck the proper kind of farewell. So I'm not against it. I just question how it's supposed to happen, what this is going to look like, right?
There could be a lot of potential for inorganic shoehorning of, now my Batman is now the DCEU Batman. Well, it doesn't mean they wrote him into it well.
Right. But yeah. We'll see. Unless maybe it's supposed to be like maybe it's that there is no Batman in present day anymore. Maybe
that's what I'm thinking. Like, if they're going to phase out, because they're almost positive, what everyone's almost positive about, and what is confirmed is Affleck's done after this.
Right.
Well, unless the money truck gets backed up again, we'll all see.
Right.
But it's almost, everyone's almost positive that Affleck's done after this. So yeah, it could just be like a break from current Batman. They're like, look, you've gotten what 3 or 4 movies at this point with this Batman. You know who this guy is. You know you're getting another Batman from Matt Reeves. The other thing that was confirmed is that they're not going to cross over Matt Reeves with other parts of the multiverse, including the DCEU. My assumption, they're going to phase out Affleck. You're going to get the nostalgia of Keaton while having an excuse for Beyond. And I think it'll probably some kind of like, yes, are they going to do Beyond present day? That's the big question that I don't know. But if they do set up some kind of thing for Beyond, I think it's just like, you got old Bruce, here's your Batman over here. He's not going to connect with this Batman. But we'll also have your cake and eat it, and you get to say goodbye to Affleck. I think there might just be a little break from like standard Bruce Wayne for a couple of years.
Right.
I also don't know if I necessarily have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with it. It's just that's how you run into continuity messes. I feel like anytime you work with like time displacement and displacing characters, like we do this with Captain America, we've done with it happened with Batman when he was hit with the Omega Beam and he was displaced in time. It's just it always makes it kind of awkward to write and like timeline, and it's even worse with movies. So I'm not saying there's no plan. I'm just saying I don't see what the plan is out the gate, kind of thing. But I'm interested. This is probably the most interested I've been in this DCAU in a while, just because it's Marvel was really good at connecting their movies into the cinematic universe. I think DC should have been playing with the idea of multiverse right out the gate. So I'm glad that we're finally doing that, and that alone is interesting to me.
Yeah, like they've given up on trying to do the Marvel thing. They're like, look, we've been doing this for years, but in a very different way. So what we might as well do is create a multiverse with our disparate, thus far disparate properties, which now you can just connect.
Yeah. What do you think of this?
I think it's cool. Again, with you though, I think there's so many questions. I don't want like a present day Beyond. I don't want their first like shot at Beyond to be this like, oh, well, because here's the thing. Live action, big time movies are how the general public learns about certain characters. A lot of people don't know who the hell Batman Beyond is. My thing from not to say that the story would be bad and whatever they have planned, but it's like, even if it's half-assed, I just think that this is one of your properties that you go like, let's kind of just give them your standard, closest to the DCAU Beyond Rebirth, like not DC Rebirth, like DCAU Batman Beyond Rebirth intro, so that people can really know who Beyond is in kind of its original form. And I'm not saying the original form's the best and the comics didn't, but even even DC Rebirth comics, they had flashbacks to like exact shots of DC AU origins. Right. So I just kind of want, let's say, standard Beyond out the gate. Now, if you have a multiverse, though, what's cool is that you could, there's all kinds of shit you can do with time travel. Terry McGinnis, you could kind of have your cake and eat it of Terry McGinnis being from the future of Earth 2 or the future of this Earth. Right. And then he shows up in the Batcave because the Flash ran into the wrong time portal or whatever. Right. And all of a sudden, young Terry McGinnis does need, that would be kind of interesting. Like imagine if you had like Terry McGinnis, and he's essentially like a live action DCAU Terry McGinnis, and then he goes back in time or to some other Earth, and Keaton has to fill in the role of the other old Bruce. Right. Or maybe the old Bruce died and there's like epilogue or, there's just a million things you can do with it. I just like you though. I hope that this isn't just an excuse for nostalgia shoehorning. I hate to say it, guys, like I'm not just excited because Keaton's back. I'm not. I am excited to see what they do with Keaton. But in and of itself, I have been screwed by DC movies, even Marvel movies to a certain extent, of my expectations. Star Wars was a big problem for me. I thought it was like these heroes that you grow up with, and then these filmmakers put certain spins on it where you're like, that's too far from what I am used to. Right. I don't want to name whatever Star Wars movie, but it's just like, I just hope that kind of thing doesn't happen with this, that filmmakers takes these huge swings away from kind of what the original maybe heart of Batman Beyond is. play around with it for sure and go nuts with the multiverse and do something different maybe after we know this origin. I guess what I'm trying to say is I want first the general public to know who Batman Beyond is in its purest before we get some kind of weird spin-off type thing.
Agreed.
Or weird spin on it, not spin off.
Agreed. And just to close that, that's part of the reason why I am so adamantly against the Arkham Knight iteration of that costume, because for a lot of people that was their first exposure, and if nothing else, it's one of the most popular iterations of Batman Beyond. But for me, it's kind of the antithesis of what Batman Beyond is supposed to be, at least visually. So I just get nervous that if we get a movie, they'll want to take creative liberties like that and do something very removed from what Batman Beyond should be. But people gravitate towards that, and that's what Batman Beyond becomes defined as, right?
Yeah, and then people are like, no, Beyond is it's the Gotham problem. And it's like, I don't want to go after Gotham, but so many people are like, oh, you don't like Gotham? And I'm like, no, I'm a fan of Batman. And they're like, well, I'm not a fan of Batman, so I have no problem with it. And then they start like correcting you and going after you about, and it's like, dude, if anyone's going to be gone after, it's yo ass. Like, I'm sorry. If you like Gotham, wonderful. But don't come after people who know about Batman with like, no, the story, I know it wasn't the Joker, but Jerome and this and that. I'm like, bro, you have got to stop correcting me on Batman lore. Like, but on Gotham, no, there is no but on Gotham. Sorry. And same with this. Like, if you half-ass Beyond and I start hearing like, no, Terry McGinnis is in fact, no, bitch. So I just hope that kind of, that approach is not taken out of this. So let's jump to a poll, Eli. I asked, what would you want, would you want Keaton to play his real age, which is currently 69? So let's say if this movie comes out 2022, which is what it's slated for, he could turn 70 even this year. So let's say he's 70 years old or even older, like the show. So again, would you want Keaton to play his real age, 69, or even older, like the show? So 75% of you guys, again, this is at Batman Beyond Media, 75% said real age, 25% said older. So older, once again, this is like the show. He's at least 80, if not older. Old man, not just like in his golden years, older Batman. Like, no, old man.
When he quit, he was in his like post-golden years.
Right. Yeah. So like, do you guys want, again, and this is interesting to me. I'm kind of surprised by this. You guys want the real age. So what do you think of this? 70 years old, kind of modern day Michael Keaton.
He could just play it straight because when he quit at the start of Rebirth, he was approximately 60, give or take. Maybe take a few years, maybe 58, but he was around there. Then fast forward to by the time Terry becomes Batman, he's approximately 80. And that's also according to Paul Dini. He's approximately 80, around there. And then obviously when you skip to Epilogue, he's like in his 90s. But as far as like the standard old Bruce Wayne goes, Michael Keaton, because the thing about old Bruce is he's old, but he's supposed to be, there's a certain able-bodiedness that is retained, right? Like we see
him fighting in Rebirth.
Yeah, like he's in good shape for his age. Being able to fight a bunch of like teens and 20-something clown whatever people, it's impressive. So I wouldn't want them to age Keaton up because I think he's at that age where he looks old and distinguished, but he doesn't look like frail or decrepit or anything. I feel like if you age him up anymore, he might look like that.
That's a good point. I mean, we're thinking about cartoons where these aren't real people. So yes, live action, you have to make different choices when you're creating a guy who's believably going to fight people yet be an old man.
Yeah. Late
60s, but in good shape. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Plus, this is the beginning, as we've said, and what's the big news here, the new news is that he's the main DC, meaning we're going to get a lot of Keaton from here. Like we're going to get at least probably 2 to 3, which means, he's not going to get any younger as it goes.
Yeah.
So.
And by the time we get to this, potentially he could be in his mid-70s by then.
But by the time we get to what?
Like any type of Batman Beyond live action.
Right.
Because Flash comes out
2022.
And then
Guys, real quick, excuse the noise. I have neighbors in the hallway. It's all good.
assuming Flash comes out 2022 and a Batman Beyond thing is the next thing announced, hypothetically, that would be at least 2024 then.
Good point.
So at that point, you're talking, he's what, 75 by then ish. So I think he should just play it as is. He shouldn't even.
That's a good point. I like it.
What do you think?
I can see that. No, I at first I was thinking they should age him up a little bit, which wouldn't be that hard. You know, it's like he's already 70, so it's to make someone look 80, 85. But then again, I answered my own question before when going off what you said about this is live action. Like you kind of do have to do different to even tell the same story that you're trying to tell in the DCAU. You have to make different choices casting wise and production wise in live action to tell that same story.
Right.
To make it believable. Once again, an old man who can fight, 80's kind of too old for that.
Right.
80's too old in live action, you know, unless you're like, I'm sure Schwarzenegger in 10 years is probably going to be able to fight, but like, yeah. Cool. All right. So next question. This is something that I'll pat myself on the back for this question that I put on Instagram. So once again, at Batman Beyond Media, I asked you guys, what flashbacks would you like to see from Keaton? No, I'm right.
That's a good one.
I give myself the chills. I'll also say that this is where we got the most engagement. People love this question. So what flashbacks would you want to think about this? Flashbacks from not only old Bruce as Beyond fans, but now you have the 89. Like this, for me, the best of 89 is what I think you said before. You like Keaton and /89 for what it did for the greater Bat franchise, specifically the DCAU. It kicked off and gave the tone for, and a lot of the noir and all the production design, Anton the First and the music of Danny Elfman, all that shit from the Burton movies.
We wouldn't have Beyond without it. Also.
Wouldn't have Beyond without it, right? Because you don't get BTAS and everything else. That being said, you know, you and I have our issues with those movies, and not to go into detail with them, but this is a way to be like, here's the best of the best. And now we get Flash, meaning like it's old Bruce, it's DCAU kind of, but you do get to play around. And now with de-aging, you can do whatever you want. Flashback boys. So I'm going to go to your questions first, and then Eli, you start thinking about your answer here.
I already know my answer.
I already know. You already know. All right. So we have Arthur. Sorry, I need this to be a little bigger here. Arthur Box, BO, Arthur_BOXX flashbacks that we did not see from Keaton's third Batman movie with Billy D. Williams. Yes, this was so there was originally Tim Burton. I don't know if there was a script. I'm pretty sure there was. Don't quote me on any of this. Live action people are serious, as I've learned in the past couple of weeks, as you should be. But yeah, no, there was like, that movie was almost happening. And there was it was either Batman Unchained or one of those. And Billy D was supposed to reprise his role as Two-Face, or actually become Two-Face. Yeah, and so yeah, essentially Batman 3. So this is really cool. So Arthur Box said, basically what we didn't see from the third Batman movie, I mean, that story was pretty much laid out, and like ideas were there for it, and you could age down Billy D. Williams and get, oh my God, dude. Or what an amazing idea.
Or you could take the Star Wars route and just age up Glover if you wanted to.
Age up Glover.
Donald Glover.
Oh, Donald Glover. Age up Donald Glover to be Two-Face?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so confusing, but would make sense. Yeah.
Donald Glover
plays Lando.
Yeah. So, I mean, the point is, it's possible. You could just do anything to make it happen.
Yeah. Holy shit. That's an amazing answer. Excellent answer. Animated Bat Toys. Moments with the Joker. I love this. Or actually, no. Let me just anyway. Moments with the Joker from the 89 Mobile and new pictures with a different Robin.
I like that.
This was not what I was thinking when I just got excited about. But I do like this. And yes, this was something that a lot of Bat fans, including me, if you're bringing back Keaton, I need to see that Batmobile. Yes. I need the Batmobile. Yeah. That is the best live action Batmobile we've gotten. I need it. Seeing Flash run alongside the 80.
Get out of here.
Dude! The other thing, too, about the 89 Mobile, unfortunately, never really saw it in real action because it was going 10 miles an hour on a soundstage in Pinewood Studios in London. Whereas now you could, with special effects and modern effects, dude,
get out of here.
Like the 89 Mobile, full on gadgets, I mean, you could go ham on it, especially if it's flashbacks. Like, You could see him in his prime.
And imagine like
in real
the
action.
crazy shit you could do with him inside the cockpit now. Elaborate, you can make it look and stuff, right?
And also think about this too. So I heard this was an interesting aesthetic choice that I believe it was Tim Burton's choice or one of the production designers, and they said the look that they wanted from '89 was it to feel like a 1940s movie with the year 2000 technology.
Okay.
That's 21 years ago now, but this was 1989. So for them, that's future technology.
Right.
So he was looking forward of like, I want it to be like close enough to our tech, 89 tech, but futurized.
Right.
So to them, that's like the future. So if you do flashbacks for this, you could be getting like a 2010 Batman, essentially, 2005 89. What would that fucking Batcave? What would that Batmobile look like? What's a suit?
Damn.
This is where I get extra excited. All right. Two more. Security Wolf 86. The heart attack. What's up?
He's cool, by the way. He's always like really engaged in our stuff on Instagram. I don't know.
Oh, yours too? Yeah, no, he's all over our
He's
stuff.
great,
Or
yeah.
my profile. Nice. All right. This is awesome. Security Wolf 86. The heart attacks. Everyone leaving him. The last face off with Joker. Dude, there's so much in there. All right. So let's do one at a time. The heart attacks. Yeah, man. I think you mentioned in our commentary, the Return of the Joker commentary, that if we at some point got some kind of like, Bruce pre-rebirth when like he's flying around the city, but yeah, the suit like starts to like the heart thing. So he's got to like drop down to a building and he's losing his breath and the heart problems start. That's such a good idea because essentially it's Batman breaking down. And as I always say, like, what does a guy do when he can't do it anymore? And in my interview with Conroy, that was what he was saying. That is exactly what he channeled to bring out old Bruce in that character, was the frustration, the anger of, I used to be able to be that God, and because my body's broken down, I can't be this person anymore.
Right.
Like, what would that do to a guy who is that driven? Oh my God. And once again, and then finally, Batman stop motion. Jason Todd's. Oh, sorry. So there's even more to Security Wolf 86. Everyone leaving him. Damn, dude. This guy's throwing it out.
You know the only problem with that though? This was a Bruce that.
Sorry, I'm gonna grab some water. Keep talking.
This is a Bruce that did not have a lot of people around him. He had, I'm going to separate the Schumacher things because I think those are going to be written out of continuity by all of this. Where we leave Batman in Returns, he only really has Selina as like a person in his life. Even Vicky Vale isn't like really there or present. So I like that idea. I like the idea of like seeing a Robin walk out on him and seeing maybe Selina walk out on him. I'm just saying this Batman was kind of a loner to begin with before we left him. So seeing a flashback of people leaving him, it wouldn't hit with me all that hard because it'd be people who came after we stopped seeing it in real time. You know what I mean?
What if he just walks by the display case of suits?
That would be good. That would be good.
Oh my God, dude.
But the last thing he says about
so
the
this
Joker. Now this is cool.
This is where my brain explodes. Yes, the last face off with Joker. Go ahead.
Well, this is great because this could potentially put the seeds for Return of the Joker.
Stop talking. Keep talking.
You could line it up so well and kind of bookend it in a weird way of you plant the seeds of Return of the Joker now and you pay it off way later and people don't even realize you're planting the seeds. You could put in little Easter eggs. You show the flashback of his final confrontation just to plant the trails of the Joker still possibly exists, or, planting the seeds of Return of the Joker, and you could just pay it off later. And people like you and me would see it coming, but average audience, they would go back and, it's so smart. It's so smart. I love that.
So here's a question. Last face off with the Joker. Do you de-age Jack motherfucking Nicholson?
Oh, yeah.
And would he come back? Is he acting? Like, dude's like 85 now, and I haven't seen him in anything.
I don't think he's doing much.
He's one of those like recluse Hollywood guys now, right?
Yeah, he's chilling.
Like, he shows up at Academy Awards and like chills and stuff, but it's not, right? So, but imagine, dude, can you imagine if, like, I'm not a huge 89 fan because specifically I feel like that movie just should have been called The Joker, because Batman's just a character in Joker's movie. But man, Nicholson, for what he was given, absolutely, he's fucking no one. I don't have to explain how good he was, even for a cameo, dude.
Well, and what's brilliant about this is that we would only need him for this one last time, because if they did a Return of the Joker adaptation, you wouldn't even have to get a de-aged.
You don't need him for Return of the Joker, yeah.
No, yeah, because he would look like whomever bodies he's possessing. So, you know, if you decide to have him possess another Robin, you could just use the actor of that Robin because he's using his body now.
So here's what you do flashback-wise, right? You were saying this Batman was a loner. What you can do with the flashbacks and with a couple movies, now that that's been established, if not a series, is you now have the time to start building a mythology that you had never seen before via flashback.
Right.
So you do the Orange is the New Black, the Cobra Kai thing of like flashbacks to while the story's going on, you have things that are building the current story with this person's past. One of those could be the Robin we never got. One of those could be, because this was the Batman 3 part of the script, Marlon Wayans was signed on. Or actually, he was signed on originally to be Returns Robin. They were going to do a Robin in Returns.
Yes.
Marlon Wayans.
Then they were going to bring him in the next one. Then they scrapped him for Chris O'Donnell.
But I guess he's
older too now, though.
Well, he's also not white, and Jack Nicholson to whatever. I mean, you could, whatever. That doesn't matter. What matters is that there's a million things that you could do, and you could build up. He did have a Robin. You only need Nicholson, as you said, for the last face-off. Yeah. And what you could do is be like a meanwhile type shit, and it's like young Tim Drake or young Marlon Wayans is like watching the news as the Joker falls off the building, shit like that. Come on, bitch. Like there's so much you could do. Just different. Imagine seeing 89 from like different angles. Literally, like what's that Japanese movie with the Akira Kurosawa movie from different points of view? That Rashomon. That's what that animated series POV point of view is right? Yep. So it's like different scenarios from different points of view. Like the way Rogue One sets up the beginning of fucking New Hope.
Literally into the scene.
Yeah, literally the moment.
Yep.
Like, oh my God. Or the second like Joker falls off the building, then like someone's, I don't know. There's so much you could do.
I have this creeping suspicion though that if they do Return of the Joker, it's not going to be that the Joker survived or he put himself into a Robin. I feel like they're going to a Joker from a different dimension or a different timeline has now entered this Batman's timeline. I feel like is going to be the way. I can't confirm on that. That's just the feeling I'm getting.
That could be your Marlon Wayans excuse. And that motherfucker would kill it as a Joker. Can you imagine him? Like, right? Like, he's legit funny.
Yeah. And
he can be creepy. Yeah. Like, he can act.
Yeah.
And he can get in shape.
You give him the Hannibal Lecter.
Oh, my God.
Jumpsuit.
Stop. I want it. I also want a black Joker. Now I want that.
That would be interesting.
I actually saw a fan casting, and they made the whole cast black of, I want to say it was, what must it have been? It must have been 89, I think, because they said Jamie Foxx as Joker. Huh. I was like, fucking bring it. He would be a great Joker. You don't think?
I think he would be okay. It's interesting you mentioned that because I just got done rewatching The Batman from 2004. And what's his name?
The cartoon?
Yeah, Kevin Michael Richardson. Mm-hmm. He voices the Joker in that. I think he does a pretty good job. Like, I like his Joker voice. So I'm not against the black Joker. I think you need to be able to have that energy. But yeah, I could see Marlon Wayans having it.
I can't believe I never thought of any of this until now. This is awesome. All right, and then finally, Eli, I want to hear what you want from a flashback. Batman stop motion. What up? Jason Todd's death. Billy D. Williams as Two-Face. So we just kind of went over the Billy D. Williams as Two-Face. Absolutely. I mean, what is cool about it is that, again, it's just a flashback. Like, it doesn't even have to be. It could just be him reflecting on his past and like how fucked up all these villains were. And you know, Billy D gets acid thrown in his face or whatever it is, and like you could just kind of see moments of. Especially, I mean, a Return of the Joker type story or an old Bruce, a lot of that's the guilt that he has, right? About like his past and shit. I mean, you couldn't be more guilty over, if you do a Two-Face, I think they even did it in Forever too. It's like a lot of that was his own guilt because he was friends with Harvey Dent and shit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so much you could do with that, man. But then finally, Jason Todd's death. Yeah, man, if you did, why not? You know, we just talked about all the possibilities of bringing some kind of retroactive Robin into 89. Why not some kind of Jason Todd type thing? You know, if they're going to play this out over a couple series, you could set up under the Red Hood. You could do whatever the fuck you want with all this.
Huh. So I suspect that Keaton's going to be brought into the main DCEU continuity, huh?
Well,
And I bring that up because
I think the Flash brings him into it, if that makes sense.
Right.
I think 89 is like another Earth.
Yeah.
Like Earth 2-ish, whatever. Another Earth. I think that if he's saying that's the main DCEU Batman, this is what's confusing. Is that because either the Flash has to be Earth 2 or he has to be Earth 2,
right.
which makes one of the other Earth 1.
Right.
I mean, my assumption is that Flash is Earth 1. Like
right.
DCEU Prime, that's Earth Prime.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm thinking. I don't know.
Well, I only ask because in the main DCEU as it stands, Robin is dead. So maybe that's
in the main DCEU, you said? Or DCEU?
The Robin we saw was dead. So maybe that's the Robin that will return as the Joker if we potentially get a return of the Joker. And maybe they'll have to fight that one.
Oh my God. And then you flash to the BVS suit where it's like, joke's on you.
Yeah.
Right. And because they've established Affleck's going to be in this, so DCEU counts, right? Because Flash counts. Wow. Maybe. And then you don't even have to worry about the Tim Drake thing with Michael Keaton.
Right.
The question though is, all right, now I'm going off, but all right, what would you want? Eli Benson.
Personally,
Beyond expert.
I would want a montage of, well, first of all, the 89 theme would have to be playing as this is happening. I would want a montage
music
of that Batman in his prime going up against like all of the different rogues over the years, and you seeing him a little more aged and a little more different every time. So, you know, you open the montage with the final confrontation with the Joker, then you flash forward to like him fighting Two-Face, then you flash forward to like him stopping bank robbers and like the Riddler's there, then you flash forward to, you know, whatever. And every time you flash forward, you see that he's a little older, the costume's a little different, maybe
a little more advanced.
Yeah, maybe a little more indicative of either the Beyond suit or even like a New Adventures type suit, pouches instead. Just little things. The city starts changing a little bit.
Yes. The rise of Neo Gotham.
Yep. You start seeing over time, you start seeing like crime changing. Like you see a lot of maybe the emergence of Joker gangs. You see the emergence of just newer things. And the final transition
it makes it harder for him to fight, which is like, you know, old people trying to fit in. They don't know what to do.
Yeah. And the final transition I would have is it would go from the last transition would be like the bat signal in the classic, like either Burton-y black sky or even like a red sky. And then it would transition to him on a rooftop and the sky would be purple. I think that'd be like really cool. Just a slow transition into the era, you know?
Here's what you do too, production wise. So so I see your chat here. What up, chat? We will engage in just a sec. I've had a different window open here. Thank you for your comments there. We'll get to them in just a second, like I said. Production wise, right? 89 won the Academy Award in 89 for production design, specifically, I think, because of the miniatures and the sets Gotham City.
Right.
The miniatures that made up Gotham City. The way that special effects now, like, have you seen the Game of Thrones intro?
Yes.
How it's like little figures and it looks like 3D. Can you imagine the 2022 version of that, but even cleaner, where it like almost looks like fake, like Beetlejuice-ish?
Oh, that's so cool.
But futurized? Oh my God, brain right now. I can't top that or what you guys said. I mean, if I had to choose, the flashback stuff, that's perfect. I can't add to that.
And now with what we've seen with like Luke Skywalker on TV and other things, it's so easy to de-age people and to just capture the era of flashback or wherever you're flashing back to. So I think it'd be awesome. It'd just be an awesome way to open it.
Here's the other thing before we move on a little bit. On the HBO Max thing, What excites me most probably about all this is that we do live in a world where I now have faith in not even necessarily the people making this. It's just that those people that are making it have now a proof of concept from two things. And I saw them both in the past month. Luke Skywalker came back and Cobra Kai.
Right.
And I'm telling you these things because you haven't seen all of season 3 of Cobra Kai. I was born in 1985, just a year after the first one. I was telling Eli off camera, like, I grew up, at least, I wasn't a huge Karate Kid fan, but when those movies were on the weekends, point is, when certain characters appeared in this new season, the nostalgia, like, I didn't have control over my emotions. It was insane. Like, parts of my brain were unlocked that I didn't know were there. It was like I had amnesia, and all of a sudden someone was like, this is where you're from. This is your name. This is who you are. It was the most unreal experience I've ever felt.
Right.
Point of all that is to say, like, with some de-aging, and even in the Cobra Kai, there was no de-aging. They just have clips of the old Karate Kid movies. You can even do it lazy. I don't care how you do it, from a different angle, whatever the hell it is.
And they're fortunate because their actors are aging really well.
Yeah, Ralph Macchio looks like younger than he did in the first one. And he was like 23 when the first Karate Kid, he's like 23.
He looks like he's 30 right
and
now.
He looks like he's 30 now. And the other cool thing that they did, and this is another thing they could do with 89. Oh, I didn't even think of this until now. With the first season of Cobra Kai, when they showed you, because the whole first season is about like Johnny Lawrence's point of view. So it kicks off with the opening of Cobra Kai. The whole series is that first fight where, what is Ralph Macchio's name? Holy shit.
Daniel.
Thank you. Well, yeah, Daniel-san. When Daniel-san, right before he wins the championship, and so now you're seeing it from Johnny's point of view, they literally went back to the old footage that was never published and found, like, the guys who made the show went to the old filmmaker, got footage, never before seen footage, and literally showed you from different angles. Literally angles that you never saw in the 1984 footage, cleaned it up. So, like, you could go to Tim Burton and be like, Burton, you don't have to have anything to do with this. Can we just get some of this footage? Or actually, Warner's owns it. You just dig through it and go like, oh, here's an angle of the Joker we never saw.
Imagine Joker going over the roof in a different angle.
Ah! This is the shit I'm talking about, people. All right, so let's get to the chat. Batman workouts. What up, man? Thoughts on Willem Dafoe as Joker? Yes, so Willem Dafoe as Joker has been a fan casting, past 5+ years. My one issue with it now, I think he was perfect. I think his smile is like made for it. My one issue is his age. I think he's a little older.
He's too old.
But we're also talking about an old Batman. There is a world in which, Return of the Joker, but not in the freakish way, or some kind of like, I thought he was dead, but, and all of a sudden, old ass Willem Dafoe walks through the cave door, and there's a lot of shit you could do, and especially this could be one of the this could be like the Ahsoka of this franchise, right? So everyone was saying it was like Rosario Dawson before The Mandalorian. She wasn't originally cast, but everyone was saying like fan cast. All these people were doing like digital, like making her up like Ahsoka on the show. And so after a while, they're like, fuck it, like Rosario can act. Let's just put her in the show, give everyone what they want, and now Rosario Dawson is Ahsoka. So that was like a fan-made casting.
Right.
You could do that with this, especially an older Joker, an older Batman.
The irony is I always felt that way about Will Friedle in the 90s. Like, okay. I always thought that if a Batman Beyond movie had gotten taken off then, I think he would have been perfect as Terry McGinnis. I think that a young Will Friedle looked like Terry, and obviously he had his voice. So I think he would have been like a good Terry back in the day.
All right, here's what, okay. Now my mind is broken. But imagine if it's like a different Earth or something, older Terry McGinnis, like post epilogue. Do you have a Friedle cameo?
Oh, yeah.
Of like, hey, kid, I know how it feels. Dude. Holy shit. All right. Yeah, so in closing, Willem Dafoe, not in closing, but to answer your question in full, I think Willem Dafoe was perfect 10 years ago. I just have a little issue with his age. Then again, we keep talking about de-aging. If you can make Mark Hamill, I think they could have done a better job, but at least by 2022, like with deep fakes and shit, Willem Dafoe, if you age him down, I'm in. I just need him younger, that's all.
I've never had a problem with the Willem Dafoe casting. If you're going to go through all that trouble, just putting Nicholson. If you're gonna have Keaton come back, you might as well just have Nicholson come back.
Yeah, that's the thing,
If you're gonna
right?
go through all the trouble.
If you're gonna do all that, yeah.
Now, I wouldn't mind Dafoe playing like, if there was some type of, flashpoint event where the universes were colliding and you were seeing little cameos from different Elseworlds, Batmans, and Jokers. If he was one of the cameos that popped up, like, just to give a line or something, I think that'd be really cool, like a cool nod to the fans. But I don't need him like in a movie or anything. I think Once Upon a Time he would have been perfect, but I think that time has passed. I feel the same way about. I think Jim Carrey would have been a perfect Cletus Cassidy / Carnage in Spider-Man. That was a fan cast that was just as prevalent in the early 2000s, and I always wanted it. I thought that was actually a really good fan cast.
Water.
Yeah, but now, much like Dafoe, I just think Jim Carrey's past that age now. But it's one of those things that you just always think about, and you're like, that would have been cool if it happened. It is what it is.
All right, so GAIPS on YouTube. Would be cool to see the final look of Billy D. Williams as Two-Face. Yeah, we were talking about that. I mean, between de-aging, makeup now, it's so many cool things that you could do with that character. You and I always talk about Batman's villains being like different versions of that which is Batman, right? So like the justice side of Batman, believing in justice, but Two-Face is kind of justice gone too far. Right. Even though the other half of him is the good side of justice. So which is very much like Batman. He has a very ugly side to him. Sane people don't go beat up people in the night. And Batman at his best is not really, he's a good person, but let's not.
He's a good person.
He's not nice.
He's insane.
But he's not nice, and he's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got problems, right? So that is, what were we talking about? I totally forgot.
For Billy D. Williams.
Oh yeah. So seeing kind of an 89-esque modern approach to, because again, the aesthetics of 89, zero problems here. Give me the 89 aesthetics all day. Anton Furst can design fucking my wedding. I don't care. I need the greatest wedding ever. But those movies do have their limits once again because of just the time that they came out. It was all shot on the studio and blah blah blah. If you modernize that shit, and then we get like a Two-Face with between the action, the makeup, de-aging, man, and just a black Two-Face. That was the thing about that Tim Burton said. It sounded like rudimentary / borderline racist, but he said he thought it would be cool to see a black / white. He wanted to play with the black white.
It would have been really cool.
I think that's kind of cool, right?
I've seen really cool fan art of it too.
I've never seen fan art.
Yeah, people's takes of what that would have looked like. I've seen really cool ones. So
nice. Oh man, so cool.
Or I've seen ones of half half black and then the other half's green or purple. That looks it's cool. I don't know. It's
cool. No, GAIPS once again on YouTube. What I meant was it would be cool to see the concept art of Billy D, as Eli was just saying, as Two-Face from Tim Burton's early concept for Batman 3. Nice. Yeah, I want to check that out. They should. GAIPS. Oh, you know what? It wasn't concept art. I saw someone that they did and a lot of people have wanted this for years now. They've done those Batman 66 comics, like Kevin Smith did one, and there's a Wonder Woman 77 one. Everyone wants, where's the 89 book?
True.
And Kevin Smith was like, yeah, man, where's the one? He's like, I want the book where Batman's killing everybody. And he just wants 89 in a book. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, a lot of people have asked for that.
That'd be dope, dude.
I think it would have been cool if they did what they did with the 66 movies and did 89 animated movies.
Oh my God. So people this is a crossover. This is good crossover content for our DCAM show, DC animated movie show right here on the channel, and a podcast now. People have talked, it's highly strongly
probable,
highly probable that they're going to start adapting never before made, Warner's is going to start digging through the shit that they never made that almost got made. Superman Lives, the Kevin Smith movie. Other movies that never got made were almost made and that people know a ton about. And again, it's this big fan service thing. And just they're thinking of starting to make animated movies out of those. And the next one, everyone is really expecting is like I'd be very surprised if in 2022 we don't get an animated Superman Lives. Now, what's interesting for us here is that opens the door, obviously, for 89 and what we're talking about, like some version of 89. But what it also opens the door for is the unmade fucking Batman 3. Like it's still Burton aesthetics. It's like it would be directed by Burton, but it's all the shit we didn't get.
And imagine that like super modern and super crisp and super sharp looking.
Oh,
dude, fucking Burton, modern day Batman. Are you
Blu-ray.
fucking kidding me?
On Blu-ray.
Get out of here.
And the music.
Dude, get the fuck out of here. I can't.
I also wonder, so with HBO Max, right? So, the DCAMs, the DC animated movies tend to be like they spend a couple mil on them with Batman workouts. Batman Beyond versus Batwing, David Z and Luke F version. Oh, damn, that'd be badass. Batman Beyond v Batwing.
I've heard that fight before. A lot of people have asked that.
Right, because they both fly.
Their costumes are really similar.
They're both younger. Their costumes are similar. Fun fact, 2 events that I went to. One was the Batman Bad Blood premiere. I went to that. Remember when there were premieres?
And you had the poster.
Yeah, I still have that big poster. I actually won that poster.
It's a cool poster.
It is a poster. It's all by like most of the cast. And I went for asking a question, and they voted on which questions were the best, whatever. And out of like 10 questions, they chose 3 of the best, and I got one, which is cool. I shook Sean Mayer's hand, who was the voice of Nightwing in all these movies, who was also Dr. Tam on Firefly.
That's so cool.
Oh yeah. And he was so like he was nice, but he did not, like, when he was done with work, he did not want to deal with fans. And I was like, because I was already close enough, and this is a little off topic, but like because I was already close enough to the stage, I felt like, let me just talk to him for a minute. And he was like looking around, like trying to get out of there. But I just, for 1 second, I was like, hey, just real quick, like, what was your name again on Firefly? He's like, Simon Tam. I was like, yes, dude, I loved you on that. He's like, thank you. I was like, I just want to shake your hand. That's it. He's like, okay. And like, that was it. I was like, oh my God. But I felt bad for him after that. Like they were doing press and shit in the hallway. And then all these people kept swarming him because he was probably like the most famous live action person there. And like, he was so nice, but he's like, I have to go. People did not want to hear that. Anyway, at that premiere, I asked Jay Oliver, who directed Batman Bad Blood. He said that, and the whole crowd went nuts because, and this is before I did the podcast, anything. 2016, I believe it was January 2016. And small theater was at the Paley Center. And so people were talking about that suit up sequence with Batwing when he gets in. Have you seen Bad Blood? So he gets in that thing, and like it's kind of the Iron Man thing that Robert Downey Jr. steps in, and the suit kind of like goes onto him and shit, screws into him. And Jay Oliver was like, yeah, that we deliberately were like giving a nod to Batman Beyond. And the whole fucking crowd went nuts, dude. And this wasn't a Comic-Con. This was, again, like press and nerds it was like a lottery. So a certain amount of people could get in. Mm-hmm. But everyone went fucking nuts for Beyond. So I followed that up when I went to Comic-Con 2019 and met James Tucker. But yeah, like when at that round table, I made sure, because I brought the Beyond. At that point, I had the podcast and the YouTube channel and shit. So I'm like, I gotta follow that up. And so I was like, I don't know if you were at this is me talking to James Tucker. I was like, I don't know if you were at the Bad Blood premiere, but Jay Oliver, somebody said like they were doing a nod to Beyond. Do you remember that being something that you were going to follow up with? Like, is there a possibility for like a DCAM or DC animated movie universe, or just a general DCAM of Beyond? And he's like, yeah, we just said that. I'm like, come on, man. He's like, yeah, because I was like, everybody went nuts. He's like, yeah, that's what we wanted. I'm like, you son of a bitch. So they never had a plan in the DCAM to do Beyond. But back to all this.
It would have been cool though, because what I was hoping they were going to do eventually was adapt all like the modern Beyond comics into those movies. So like Damian Ra's al Ghul into a movie, and like what was that? The stuff with like the League of Assassins with like Chiari returning, and just stuff like that, like Terminal, the whole thing with all that. I thought they were just going to adapt some of like the Batman Beyond Rebirth stories into some of those like DCAM movies. I thought that would have been really cool.
Yeah, why not? It's sitting right there.
Yeah.
Here's the thing though, with some hope for that. on slightly off topic, but not really, like that, the DCAM was over now. Like Justice League Dark Apocalypse War ended it.
Yeah.
That like it bookends Flashpoint where it all started, and those movies are done, that universe of animated movies. But their plan to pump out the DCAMs hasn't stopped by any means. Like 2021, we have at least 4, if not another one announced. Like we typically have been getting like a 5th surprise movie now for several years. Like TMNT, Batman TMNT, no one knew that was coming. We got that.
All those movies, like the new 52-esque ones,
Yeah.
are those moved to HBO Max too, or are those in limbo right now?
Good question. So yes, some of those are on HBO Max. A decent amount are.
Okay.
But yeah, DC Universe is officially done with like the shows and stuff. Now it's all comic.
It's not on my Roku anymore.
Oh.
So sad.
But here's the thing with Max, and this is what I was trying. I got sidetracked before. Now that you have HBO Max and you have a home delivery system, meaning like instead of the standard, all right, we're going to give you these animated movies either VOD or in the store. Like you have your own streaming service and you're producing your own content. What if still keep it animated, but what if they up the budget to like 10 mil instead of 3? And what if you get like into the Spider-Verse level Beyond shit, dude? Come on, man.
Dude.
Oh, but sorry. Now that the DCAM was over, that opens up the possibility for Beyond.
So to answer his question, by the way, of Batman Beyond versus, because I don't know if he's asking, I don't know if he's saying he wants that in a movie or if he's asking who wins in a fight.
Mm.
If he's asking who wins in a fight, it's simple. Luke Fox, if he's fighting high school Terry McGinnis as Batman, so like an early career Batman, he wins. If he's fighting epilogue Terry, he loses. Because I'm not an expert on Luke Fox in terms of like his costume and what it happens, but I'm pretty sure much like an Iron Man armor, his costume has like a baseline strength, right? Like it amplifies him to X amount, right? Like when Tony wears the armor, now he's maybe as strong as like Spider-Man or as strong as whatever. Whereas Terry's costume amplifies his base level strength, right?
Interesting.
So
Okay.
Terry in high school.
Wow. Right. The neuromuscular amplification.
Right.
Yeah.
So Terry in high school, I don't think had the skill or the strength to meet Luke Fox's Batwing at that point in time. But epilogue Terry, who's as strong as Bruce physically, and then amplified by the costume on top of that, and then has the experience on top of that, he wins. But high school Terry loses.
Nice.
So
they should retire, this is from GAIPS, they should retire the old production designers from each universe for each movie universe. And then he followed up saying Anton first won for 89. Yes, I was right about that. Anton first won for 89 for production design. I think specifically for Gotham City. They should retire the old production designers from each universe for each movie universe. I don't know. So like retire Anton, I don't know what that means. Does that mean hire new production designer? Don't know quite what you mean. If you could clarify, that'd be cool. But yeah, I think that once again, man, if you got some of that like digital / analog, like it looks like miniatures, but beyond, like imagine a Neo Gotham that looks like miniatures. Like imagine if 89, instead of 89, they're like, we're doing standard Batman, like Tim Burton, you're making a future, like if Tim Burton made Batman Beyond, which I don't really want, but like production design, what would Neo Gotham look like?
dude,
Anton first Neo Gotham, get out of here.
I want my Neo Gotham to look very I don't want it to look indicative of like, you know, super heightened cyberpunk. I want it to have cyberpunk influence, but I also still want it to have like a certain level of grittiness to it. Like, I guess the best way to put it would be
A little more Blade Runner 2049 versus Blade Runner.
right.
49's like grimy.
It's like
The environment's fucked up.
there's a griminess, but then there's almost a polishedness on top of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like the upper.
Yeah, that's because that's how Neo Gotham works. It works in levels. So I'd want it to look like that. I would be afraid that we'd get something a little too heightened. Batman Beyond isn't supposed to be heightened to the point where it's unfamiliar. It's just supposed to be like an extension of modern day, right? A little more heightened than modern day.
Yeah, if you do Anton first, that's like fantasy Batman. Yeah,
right.
That's a little much.
But that's just me personally. That's what I would want.
Dude, Neo Gotham is a whole. We should just go live for an hour one night just about possibilities of Neo Gotham in live action, because that is the conversation in of itself. I had shout out Saturday Morning Batman. He was on the podcast a couple of years back, and he was saying, like, we talked probably 20 minutes just about Neo Gotham, because there's so much live action. There's so many different considerations you have to do. Like, do you do a Black Mirror, like, recognizable, not too distant future? Or do you go balls deep and just do Blade Runner?
Right.
There's so much to kind of think about there.
Yeah.
All right, so if we do get a Beyond story, once again, at Batman Beyond Media, this is a poll. If we do get a Beyond story, do you want Terry McGinnis or different DC character for the young Bat? Because what is being talked about, via rumor, is that even the Flash is being considered, but a lot of people are saying Batgirl's possible for like the new young Bat.
Nisa's Batgirl? Sorry, I'm getting water.
No, well, they didn't say which Batgirl. That's a good question. Yeah, Nisa being from the Beyond books. But I'm assuming what they would probably, and this is a question in and of itself. Actually, I did ask this question, not even in and of itself. I said, which Batgirl, sorry, what was the question? For a Batgirl mentee, should they create a new Batgirl Beyond or go with Barbara Gordon? 60% said Barbara, 40% said new girl Beyond. But this is cool. 100% of you guys said, like, we want Terry McGinnis.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think for this movie, I think it's really cool, all the possibilities that this opens up for. It's just to introduce us to Beyond, not via Terry McGinnis and old Bruce. It just doesn't, why do it? It's almost like.
Now, I have a question for you.
Or at least have a multiverse, like, ready to go, that you're going to go there at some point.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
In some of the comic adaptations, like in Batman 700, or in even some of the like Earth 12 stuff, you see that there are periods of time where Terry is being mentored by other characters from the Bat family, like Damian, or like Dick Grayson, or like Tim Drake. Would you be okay if we did that in the movies eventually? Like if they removed Bruce Wayne, or if Bruce Wayne passed away, but then Damian became, like, an older Damian became Terry's guy behind the chair, or an older Dick Grayson, or an older, because some of the comics have done that, but people are kind of mixed on it. Some people say strictly Bruce or no one. And some people say, no, it's okay if it's like an older Dick, because he's, like the family lineage and stuff. So
I just need, if we go on the non-standard directions, I think just going back to my first thing, go as nuts as you want. I don't really care. I just want, not just like at some point, I want there to be, like, soon, the world to be introduced in some way to, in a major way, to the standard Batman Beyond. It's such a good story.
Yeah.
Now, it's almost to me like, and there's a lot you can play with, but to me, to remove both of those characters or one or the other, it's almost like saying, well, what if his parents didn't get killed? Or what if one of his parents got, and it's just, it muddies up so much of, like, that which is the mythology, that you're kind of just like, that's cool, but just give us fucking Beyond first, at least. So another question I asked at Batman Beyond Media. Rumor is, once again, Batgirl's also in the running for a Beyond type mentee to old Bruce. Thoughts on this? So Batman Stop Motion said it could be interesting, but I've always been a fan of Batgirl's classic origin. Yeah, in most cases it is Barbara Gordon, right?
Right.
Now, for Beyond, that's interesting, and I should say extra applicable to us, because her origin being Gordon's daughter for Beyond is essential to her then later being Commissioner Gordon.
Right.
So a lot of people are asking, what does it mean for, let's say they do a Beyond type thing, who's Commissioner then? Right? Or sorry, if you do a Batgirl Beyond, who's the Commissioner? Is it still where's Barbara Gordon, and how do you do the Commissioner thing?
This is one of those things that I don't bend on. She has to be the Commissioner by the time Terry becomes Batman, because
you're dying on that hill.
I have to. She was a very important obstacle for Bruce and Terry to have to overcome.
Yeah.
She acted as the descending voice of, I guess you could say, reason, really, that really asks the logical question of, you're doing this again. After everything that's happened, after how many kids you've endangered? You're doing this again. And then she looks at Terry and says, and you're naive enough to go along with it, kind of thing, and you don't know better. And
that's your excuse for flashbacks, by the way.
And it's just so important to the growth of Terry as Batman and kind of the healing of Bruce Wayne kind of coming out of seclusion and accepting partners again, having to overcome Barbara Gordon. And she's kind of the mouthpiece of the Bat family at that point. The whole Bat family is disenfranchised and has kind of a bone to pick with Bruce. But she's the mouthpiece that voices those, dissenting opinions. And I think that it's really important that she has a position of power at that point. She has to be the commissioner. It presents so many different dimensions. I can't imagine it being anyone else. I mean, I could, but it's way less interesting. It should be Barbara.
Well, again, going on the whole, not the villain side of things, but, degrees of Batman and what that character means. He's, the law is central to that character. Where he falls with the police is essential to that character, depending on the versions. But the point is that he's not following the law, but he's for the law in some weird ways.
Right.
To tie him directly, it's just such a brilliant idea to have a former member of the Bat family become the law.
Right.
It's like she spent all this time breaking the law and doing all these things to respect the law and to follow in her father's footsteps in some way, but do it in this other dude's image and with a huge edge, with an illegal edge, let's be real. And then she's looking back on it going I was endangered, he's endangering other people. She just has this other adult perspective. But in terms of the degrees of where Batman falls with the law, having her as the commissioner, right, is just so damn good.
It's good and it's just important.
And it forces him to look at himself. It's a mirror, a constant mirror, a black mirror, if you will.
And it's really interesting because then there's times when either Terry presumably goes too far or Bruce presumably goes too far or something happens. And it puts all of them in a really uncomfortable situation because she's like, this is going to leave me with no choice but to come in there and have to arrest you. And that's going to reveal you, Terry, and myself. And we all go down. But it's the situation I'm in because I have to follow the books now, kind of thing.
That's true. There's always the threat of her exposing him. Yeah, she holds that over Bruce forever.
Yeah. And Terry and herself. And she says, look, if you two go down, I'm going down with you, and it's nothing I want to do, but it's the nuclear deterrent, right? It's just so it's just a really interesting dynamic there, and I just wouldn't want to mess with that. I think it's already so brilliant, and it's such a perfect conclusion to her character, especially, and we talked about this in our Return the Joker commentary. In the end of the series, to see her kind of come full circle, and when Bruce is out of commission, to see her return to that chair.
In the Batcave,
yeah. It's just so full circle, and I think it's the way you should take her character, at least if you're going to do Batman Beyond. So I'll die on that hill.
That's good. You should always have a hill to die. All right, so Static and Batgirl, once again, being considered for HBO Max live action correction movies is what Hamada said, but point is, it's not a huge correction because series is also possible, right? Because none of this was confirmed. He wasn't definite anyway. He was giving those as examples. What it probably means, we're probably going to get one or both of these movies on HBO Max. But the point is, my question on Instagram was Static and Batgirl, once again, being considered for HBO Max live action series. Which Max live action series would you prefer, Static or Batgirl? 58% said Static. So this is pretty close. 58 Static, 42 Batgirl.
This surprises me, this breakdown.
Me too. Why does it surprise you?
I thought it would have been a wash. I thought everyone would have said Static. I'm surprised.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I would have said Batgirl.
Well, I figured people probably have a bad taste in their mouth because of what's happening with Batwoman and all the because of all the problems that's having right now, just in terms of production and actors and this. I thought people just are kind of jaded towards that. And at the very least, we had one season with Ruby Rose, and that's kind of your Batgirl-esque series in a way. So I figured everyone's wanted Static Shock, and we haven't really had anything even remotely indicative of it yet. So I thought everyone would have said, oh yeah, well, we've seen Batwoman at least, so let's see a Static show and see how that does. But a 50-50 split nearly, that's interesting.
I think maybe Batgirl has some extra strength zeitgeist-wise because she was also on the 66 show.
Sure.
So we did get years of people knowing who Batgirl was and who the fuck is Batwoman.
True.
So I don't know how much. I mean, while that's a great point, I didn't even consider the Batwoman angle. Yes, that could definitely put a bad taste in people's mouth. I still think the general public, if Batgirl wasn't as big as she was previously, a lot of people would be asking that question, or would have a bad taste in their mouth. They'd be like, "Oh, Batwoman, Batgirl, fuck it, like female Bat, I don't like it." I think maybe because of the 66 show, also because of DC animated, the DCAU, we got a lot of Batgirl.
Right.
I remember even like when I was teaching middle school, kids are like, "Why is there a Batgirl and no Batwoman?" And I was like, "There is a Batwoman." So I think people know who and now there's the DC superhero girls and shit. So that's a great point. Yeah, that Batwoman show is a mess.
The point is, there's just a lot of, even that show aside, there's just a lot of Batgirl already, but there's not much Static outside of the Static Shock show and outside of Young Justice. We don't really see him much, so I thought that's just something people would have wanted to see more. But who knows? Personally, I would want to see a Static show more. I just think it's really cool.
Hell yeah.
The concept is, I mean, the origin story is literally there's a gang war happening on a dock and like radioactive canisters break open and it's called the Big Bang and everyone's like a bang baby. If you're going based on like the animated series, the concept's a little different, but it's really cool. And you could have like a different bang baby show up every episode, right? And
you get bang baby of the week.
Yeah, and it's just really cool. And he's a bang baby. It's cool.
Well, here's what I am not most excited, but what I absolutely love about all this shit is that there's distinct possibilities that characters, let's keep it with Star Wars for a second, a bunch of new characters have been introduced on Mandalorian. That's canon. Immediately it's canon, right? So everything that's on those shows is Star Wars canon, meaning those characters could show up in movies. Boba Fett's on that show, Mandalorian can now show up in a movie. What's sick here is that we might get Static first on TV. Again, these could be movies, but this what's sweet about this, and now what is happening with Marvel is that now we're going to start getting introduced to characters in series, and then if you want to see the next movie, you're going to like have to watch the show type shit.
Right.
I think it'd be sick to like get our first, because here's the other thing with HBO Max. Another thing I want to be totally clear about. Eli and I have talked about this off camera and stuff, but what I definitely, if I had to pick what I'm most excited about, it's that there is potential now for a series to be fully budgeted, like movie budgets on television, like Mandalorian, like what we're getting with these Marvel shows. It looks like you're seeing a Marvel movie, but on TV, and it's serialized as such. Point is, these shows that we're talking about now, either Batgirl, Static, whatever's happening with the Batman, it's not going to be CW. It's going to be something that could also be on the big screen. So that to me is like, holy shit, like we're going to get Mandalorian budgeted Static shows. We're going to get Mandalorian budgeted fucking Batgirl shows. I mean, that is so damn exciting. And the fact that it's just going to be a lot more like comics, I think. It's going to be a lot more, you have to at least know the comic stories to jump into a movie and follow these things monthly or weekly or whatever the hell it is. And I really hope they tie it in the same way that Marvel plans on doing it. I mean, do your own thing, but again, introduced on a show or having to watch both. I love that idea.
Oh yeah.
Like, because I mean, if they do that Gotham PD, like I wonder if they're going to do that with the Gotham PD show, right? Is it going to be like to watch the Batman 2, you're going to have watched, some of that show? That'd be dope if they did. That would be dope. So this is a question I said, I don't think anyone really replied to this, but this is, I thought, a good conversation piece. So we can wrap with this because I think that's it. Since Batgirl is possible for both Beyond and a series, because once again, it's people are rumoring that, because of the Michael Keaton thing, and immediately with fandom, people were saying Batgirl, like maybe that's which I think you said on Instagram, your assumption is that, there were the rumors a couple of years back that Joss Whedon was going to do a Batgirl movie and shit like that. So it could be just a combination of rumors. But let's say, once again, since Batgirl is possible, because all this shit is possible, for both Beyond and a series, do you think there's a connection there? And what is it? Meaning, like, if Batgirl is, once again, this idea of like, if someone's going to be introduced on a series, imagine this, you have a Batgirl show, and then you get a Beyond movie and the show is a flashback of Barbara Gordon in the movie. Like, come on, dude. And she has flashbacks in the movie, so you don't like necessarily have to watch the show, but the movie's enriched by like, oh, I know that flashback because that's from episode 2 of the show.
Kind of like how Return of the Joker, when he's comparing voice footage, they take a scene from Holiday Nights and he's like doing the
like actual episodes.
Yeah, like it'd be really cool if they did things like that, right? Like you have to go watch this episode to get
the reference.
I don't think that's what they're doing.
No, I don't think that's
too
what
elaborate for them.
Yeah.
But I think that'd be really cool.
Now, I mean, that's a little more far-fetched. I think what I was getting at with the question here is, how would this Batgirl be a movie, whatever it is on HBO Max, if that's where she's introduced? Once again, and they're talking about Batgirl for Beyond. Do you think that maybe, like, you get in this Flash movie, you get, all right, here's your old Bruce Wayne, farewell to Affleck, post credits, you know, your mentee walks through the portal or whatever, and it's the girl from the Batgirl show that we've been watching, or that's a setup for the Batgirl show, and it's the same person kind of, in some way or another. I don't know how, but I mean, fuck. I mean, what's cool about the multiverse is that you could anyone could be any age, and she could be her age now and step through something to the future and still say her age. There's all kinds of trippy, weird stuff you could do. What do you think? What are you looking at?
I'm just rereading some of the questions to see if I think we got them all though.
We got them all. Trying to think if there's anything else from this list of questions.
I always love those. I think his name is Phil Cho. Those Phil Cho pieces.
Phil Cho,
who does like, I don't know if you've seen like that Batgirl piece.
The Nisa Batgirl.
He does like a bunch of different. He'll do like series, so he'll do like a bunch of all the like the Thomas Wayne Batman, the Terry Batman, the Bruce Batman, all in his style. He has this really stylized way of doing things, and you'll see his art everywhere. That's a Phil Cho, I believe.
Nice. Shout out to Phil Cho.
I think that's his name.
Oh, and this was a question. So I asked, and then we'll wrap with this. This is a question from Batman Stop Motion to us. Do you think we'll see a lot of Keaton's Batman in the Flash movie? I think absolutely. I don't think we had per se confirmation of that until this recent interview. This most recent news, we knew we were going to get Keaton. We knew we were probably going to get more than a cameo, but this is like, oh yeah, like we're getting a bunch of Keaton. I mean, the main DCEU Batman.
There's a comic panel of it's Bruce's Batman, the Flash, and then Thomas's Batman and the Cave. And
say it again.
It's Bruce's Batman, Thomas Wayne's Batman, and the Flash all in the Batcave. Okay. There's like a cool comic panel of the three of them there. I keep getting this image of my head of like Affleck's Batman, Keaton's Batman, and the Flash all in the cave there. Everyone's in costume. Oh God, I
which is like, that's gonna happen probably. Like that is going to happen. And guess where they're gonna be? If they're smart, 89 cave. I don't want to see that fucking BVS cave again. If you have, or imagine Keaton walks into the BVS cave, he's like, what the hell is this? What is this, a loft? Like, I know I'm a billionaire, but this is a joke. Like, have you seen my cave? That's a real cave. Oh my God. Or to see Affleck look around in the Anton First Batcave, like, what the fuck is all this?
I know.
Like going into the cave of yourself as Batman, like a different version of yourself, a guy who's as obsessed, a guy who also lost his parents.
Dude, the bat signal going off and two Batmen showing up to go.
I quit the podcast. Oh my God. Yeah, that stupid Snyder Batmobile crashes into the Anton First Batmobile. and then Michael Keaton right before they crash goes, shield. And the fucking Anton First. Oh my God. That's the stuff too that I would really like, those effects, like the old Beetlejuice looking Tim Burton effects.
Yeah.
I really want there to be like a level of crappiness to some of this.
Kind of like
almost fake.
Kind of like Star Wars when they go back and they still use like costumes and props and stuff like that.
Or like when we saw one thing, however you feel about Rise of Skywalker, like, and even JJ's first one, Force Awakens, like you see the skip as it's a 70s movie when she sparks the lightsaber. When Rey sparks the lightsaber in the trailer, of Rise. Remember, you and I talked about that in a podcast.
Yep.
And it like skips as if it's like the film. They're just doing a jump cut because that's shitty 70s film.
Back to like when Luke used to do that, you know? And
Yeah.
Like skip.
Oh my God. And JJ shot it on film and stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, if you bring that kind of love into this, I can't imagine like if this Muschietti guy, I think he's going to be a good candidate for this, not just necessarily because of the Flash, but he did that It movie. I don't know if he did the second one, but he did the first one,
Which was good.
it was good, man. So that has a lot to it. I think that's applicable here. It's existing IP. It's beloved fucking IP. It's deep IP. I mean, you're talking King fans. You're talking a movie that was huge at a certain time, be it a
Dark
not great
fans, yeah.
DC movie or a TV movie, but still a movie. A lot was going on there. Tim Curry, that was a lot to live up to, that kind of stuff. I think it was dark, but twisted in a kind of a fun way. Like there was lightness to it. You cared about all the characters.
It kind of had that Stand By Me vibe to it, too.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
The kids coming together, you know.
Which is very much what, like, you know, Stranger Things is based on, the group of kids, and all that shit's based on Stephen King. I think there's a lot of stuff to that movie where, and obviously the sick, dark, the horror side of it, I think is what is really going to, like, production quality wise. I think that guy's going to do really well visually with, I mean, even parts of it take place in a cave and shit, you know? It's like, oh man, I'm excited.
Yeah, man.
I did ask him one of the other questions about Flashpoint possibilities, but no one really answered that. I mean, I think we kind of covered it throughout all this, that, you know, Flashpoint's, the director said it's going to be a Flashpoint-esque story, definitely.
Just by what's being rumored here, I think that speaks for itself.
Yeah.
2 Batman, I mean,
and Flashpoint's that's like one of my favorite movies / Flash stories ever too. It's such a beautiful freaking story to bring that into the movie along with, I mean, talk about, so, all right, a guy who, and we'll stop right after this, a guy who goes back in time to try to save his mother from being killed. His mother being killed was what drove him to be the Flash in the first place, right? Mm-hmm. That's very Batman. You know, your parent dies. What if you could go back? Imagine that, like, the whole theater is going to cry when Michael Keaton goes, oh, you don't think I want to go back and save somebody from my past? Like, holy fuck, dude. We're going to get to see Michael Keaton be like, no, you can't go save them. And no, you fucked it all up. And I could have done that. And I wouldn't be this miserable, the Batman, if I did what you did. You lazy ass. Now we got to go fix this.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Now, last question. Would you want to see Jeffrey Dean Morgan be
100%?
Yeah.
100%. The Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I said this, I left this out of when this news first broke back in fandom, and it was one of my first YouTube videos here. It was about the Keaton multiverse, and it was like all this news broke. So I was like, this perfect first couple of videos, and it was tied in with Beyond, of course. And one of the things I was saying was like, I left it out because I felt like it wasn't pertinent to Beyond, but it was this whole section about how I want Jeffrey Dean Morgan. And just to backtrack a little bit, for those unfamiliar, like at one point, this was another like ton of fan casting about Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne. How sick would that be? This and that. And then it was like a strong rumor. Nothing was confirmed, but it was like on Hollywood levels, there were talks of him coming in, right? If not, I think he might have said he would do it, something like that. It was like an extra level, like, oh shit, this might happen. Yeah. Then when this news came out of Keaton coming in and Flashpoint almost confirmed, it was kind of like, at that point, they were like, definitely no Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I said, and again, this wasn't in the video, but I'll tell you guys here, like I was saying, one of the points that I made was I was a little disappointed about that because I felt the movie would be a little too confusing without him, because it's like, what's the point of Flashpoint if you don't get another side of like what Batman could turn into? Because you know Michael Keaton's, the second that kid comes through the portal, however that's going to work, he's too smart to be like, oh, this has no repercussions. You know, he's going to be like, fuck, like what does it mean for my parents? And like, is there a world where my parents lived? Right. And he might even get selfish and then figure it out. And like, they take their road trip through the multiverse or whatever the hell. And then like, it's just going to be like, I knew it or whatever. And all of a sudden you see like Jeffrey D. Morgan or whoever. But okay, so to backtrack a little more, again, they're saying that we might not get him. I still hope though, man, because casting wise, he'd be perfect.
It'd be such a waste if we didn't use
Why
him.
not? You're right
It'd be such a
there.
waste.
It'd be such a waste. You're already opening it up for other Batman. I mean, you've already confirmed you're having 2 on the screen anyway. I think he's going to be a post credits of 1, like the first movie, and then the second movie is going to be like Bat v Bat.
That'd be so.
Oh my god. And then again, we were talking off mic about, I was reading the Flashpoint comic recently. It's funny, like my dad for Christmas had no idea I'm interested in any of this shit to this level, at least, or at least with Flashpoint specifically. Gets me a comic of all the comics. He gets a Flashpoint comic for me. And I was telling Eli off camera, like, the stuff between the idea that this couple, so now Batman being Thomas Wayne, Bruce dies in the alley, and the wife becomes the Joker, Martha becomes the Joker, all the struggle of them knowing, because I guess I never read deep into the comics, of like, no, Martha, there's a world in which like Bruce lives. How can we get to that world? Like that story, right? And like the possible, so seeing Jeffrey Dean Morgan go like, wait. Sorry, Michael Keaton, you're telling me like there's a world in which you lived? Like what the fuck is all this? Like how is Bruce alive? What is going on?
Yeah.
And for him to discover, like, what does grieving look like when you know there's a world in which Bruce lived? What does longing for something like when it's like literally happening? Like there's a world, we all have like a breakup in our life, the what if, right? What if I had done something differently and I'm with her? Well, I hate to break it to you, but there's a multiverse in which you're with that person.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like, how does that feel when that person's like there and you like see them with the other person or whatever the fuck, or you see them with you?
Yeah.
Oh, there's so much.
And if they're going to do this with Jeffrey Dean, I don't want them getting rid of Affleck until we see that. Because I think it should be Affleck's Batman that sees the Jeffrey Dean Batman. Because that's his father, right? That's his Wayne.
Oh, that's right. Because, I totally forgot about all that shit. Triple backtrack. Jeffrey Dean Morgan was literally Thomas Wayne in
BVS.
Yes.
Yeah.
That wasn't just the fan cast. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Okay. And what's also funny, speaking of Walking Dead, we've been talking a lot. Maggie is Martha.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And she would kill it as she's a badass on Walking Dead. She would kill it as a Joker. Imagine that.
She'd be awesome.
She'd be fucking awesome.
So, all the pieces are in place. It'd just be a waste if you didn't use him. You brought him in. You have a Flashpoint movie happening. Why?
And everyone wants it.
Everyone wants it. He wants it. Why not?
No brainer. And dude, again, with HBO Max, okay, Flashpoint Batman. That's a weird, obscure Batman that maybe not everybody wants to see. Ooh, it's R-rated. Ooh, maybe we not might get ticket prices. Guess where they're gonna watch the shit out of that, and where you can make an R-rated Thomas Wayne killing people? HBO fucking Max.
And it would kill
it's a Flashpoint show.
People would eat it up, though. People would eat it up.
It could even be a Flashpoint Batman show. Like you could do whatever you want.
People would eat it up.
Eat it up.
I would.
Oh, I am so excited for all this stuff. This was awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, guys, once again, let us know your thoughts at Batman Beyond Media. Thank you so much to everyone, GIPS, Batman Workouts, for joining us here on YouTube. Once again, find us, for the podcast listeners, subscribe to the pod, just like the YouTube channel. We are above and Batman Beyond. You can find the podcast Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Once again, this particular episode is available in both video and audio form. So you did get to pick your poison today, but once again, if you're on either or, definitely check out the other, because there's kind of exclusive content to both. And if you are a pod listener, we're getting a bunch of new videos, a bunch of editing that you're not going to get there on the podcast. So we got another question. Keep up the great work, fellas. Thank you, man. You as well. Batman Workouts is the man.
Yeah. So I don't think I've ever really talked to him all that much. But
Oh,
I've
he's
seen him
the
on
man.
Instagram. He does great stuff on Instagram.
Great stuff. And he was on our show.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, subscribe to everything. And this has been Benjamin David telling you to go above.
And Batman Beyond.
You forgot to say live action beyond.
Live action Beyond. That's true.
Yes. But yeah, this was the first installment of Live Action Live. We're going to start doing more of these, specifically about not just beyond live action, but there's a shit ton of stuff going on live action wise. Always stuff to talk about. Live Action Live.
I can't wait.
Peace out.
See ya.
The awkward pause before we end the show. Nice.